Welcome to the 75th anniversary of the League of Women Voters of Orange, Durham, and Chatham County. I'm Jennifer Rubin, and I'm the president of ODC. And I'm thrilled to see so many people here, community leaders, lead folks from all across the state, which is wonderful, and our elected officials. So before we start, I would ask that our elected officials stand and be recognized. Thank you for all you do. I'd also like to recognize one of our own, Carolyn Jefferson Jenkins, who was national president of the League of Women Voters from 1998 to 2002. Carolyn. The important part of our anniversary is looking at our history and also looking forward to the challenges ahead. So we'll start with the history bit. In October of 1947, the League of Women Voters of Chapel Hill submitted an application for provisional league status with the national organization. There were 33 members, not bad. A requirement of national at the time was that the leagues had to undergo a fundraising campaign. So the Chapel Hill League did that, and in the community, a community fundraising campaign, and they raised $44. Helen Gillen, who was the first president, said, "The modesty of our achievement was very generously respected by national." And they did get their status as a league at that point. During its first decade, the league studied local schools, town finances, and health facilities in Orange County. They introduced nonpartisan candidate meetings, printed a local government handbook, sent observers to all local town and county meetings, and participated in a community study about whether there was a need for a public library. The league upped its visibility just 3 years later when it hosted Eleanor Roosevelt in 1950. She was in Chapel Hill to give a speech, and the league invited her to a luncheon in the newly built planetarium. They smartly made membership a requirement to attend the luncheon, which upped their membership to 130 people. Very smart. In the 60s, the league advocated for school integration and took a study of local election laws. Members took part in election information sessions and voter registration drives, the meat and potatoes of the league. A priority in the 70s was the passage of the Equal Rights Amendment, the 70s. In 1974, President Beverly Kowalik, who's with us today, said that we would work continuously until it was passed. I don't think he thought it would be decades, but hopefully we'll get there. In the early 80s, the league studied energy policy and focused on helping women transition to workplace careers. Under Gay Eddy's leadership, Gay is here as well, we became the League of Women Voters of Chapel Hill and Carborough. In the late 80s and 90s, the league was involved in local zoning issues, natural resources concerns, and access to health care. And in the mid-90s, we became the League of Women Voters of the Chapel Hill area as membership from surrounding areas grew. In the past several years, our league has taken on ambitious work. We convened a program designed to encourage women to run for office or to work on campaigns. We developed a civics program that focuses on the importance of local government. And we created a democracy series that covered topics like election disinformation, the court system, and the history of voting rights in North Carolina. And our Vote 411 team, that you saw with those great t-shirts, they do an outstanding job making sure that our Vote 411 tool is a great source of comprehensive information. In addition, we have a fantastic public education team and a very active yet slightly worn out redistricting team. And our new board of directors is busy planning a full year of activities. They say it takes a village, but for us it takes 3 counties and 1,400 square miles. I'd like to now ask all former presidents and all current and former board members and any of our visiting league members to please stand and be recognized. Thank you. You all play such an important role with the league, and we're grateful for your past and your continued leadership. So looking forward, we will be investing our energy around the goals of helping to dispel election misinformation, providing nonpartisan voter information as usual, and advocating for free and easy access to the ballot box. These are activities that were never controversial, but today they require our constant vigilance. We know that it's time when democracy itself is in peril and women's rights are being diminished. We must work hard so that our country, our state, and our 3 counties look like our country, our state, and our counties because they reflect the views of their voters. I hope everyone who is here tonight who is not a member will become a member and join us in our important mission. There's so much on the line, and I believe that every one of us can make a difference. In addition to my work with ODC, it is my pleasure to be second vice president on the state board. And I'm very happy that our state president, Joe Nicholas, is here tonight. So I'd like to invite her up to say a few words. Joe.
Good evening, and what a great audience is out there. As I used to say to my elementary school children, good evening, and they would say, good morning, Ms. Nicholas, or good evening, whatever it was. But it's nice to be here for this celebration. What a remarkable league that you have accomplished all the things that you did that Jennifer just read. Amazing. Let's give them a round of applause. We are growing here in North Carolina, and we're so fortunate to have Dr. Turner visit us here. We are now up to almost 2,000 members, maybe a little bit under. I can rely on my roster manager, Amy Geralman, here to give you the exact number. But it's nice that we are growing leagues also throughout the state. We only have 17 leagues in 100 counties, and some of the leagues are like yours with 3 counties. We need to continue on and reach out to the other leagues and get them started, and that's what we're doing. We're there empowering voters and defending our democracy because, as you know, it is becoming under attack. And we have to make sure that we are visible and heard safely. We need to teach civilized discussion. But I won't take up any longer because I'm anxious to hear Dr. Turner's message to us tonight. She's a wonderful person and a friend. I want to present to the League of Women Voters of Orange, Durham, Chatham. Would you come up, Jennifer? On behalf of the State Board, I'd like to give you this certificate of recognition for the League of Women Voters of Orange, Durham, and Chatham counties for 75 years of empowering voters and defending democracy. There's also just a little something to be sent on with anybody else, and you can share it throughout your members. But there's a mug that has picture of remarkable women. So, congratulations.
Are you on there?
No, I'm not on there. Thank you, honey. Thank
you. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for this evening. I am so happy that Deborah Turner is with us tonight. It is truly an honor. Deborah Turner is the 20th president of the League of Women Voters of the United States and chair of the Board of Trustees of the League of Women Voters Education Fund. Dr. Turner joined the Des Moines Metropolitan League in 2010 and became president in 2011 when the league was at risk of disbanding. She served in that role until 2015, helping revitalize membership and focus the board of directors. At the same time, she served on the League of Women Voters Iowa board, as the state vice president, becoming co-president in 2015. She was elected to the League's National Board of Directors in 2016, where she served on the Finance Committee, the Governance Committee, and she chaired the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Dr. Turner received her bachelor's degree from Iowa State University and her medical degree from the University of Iowa, where she completed her residency in OBGYN. She practiced gynecologic oncology for 35 years. In 2015, she left active practice to become Vice President of International Medical Programs of the Outreach Program. And there she participated in 12 medical missions to Tanzania. She received her law degree from Drake University in 2007, and she also serves as Associate Medical Director of Planned Parenthood of the North Central States. Dr. Turner was inducted into the Iowa Women's Hall of Fame and received Gertrude Rush Award from the National Bar Association. It is a real honor to introduce Dr. Deborah Turner.
Morning with my mind trained on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind trained on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind trained on freedom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Freedom in America is the right to vote.
Yes.
Good evening. I am pleased to join you today, or this evening, to celebrate 75 years of the League of Women Voters of Orange, Durham, and Chatham counties of North Carolina. I'm beginning to understand where all those counties are. I am delighted to be here in North Carolina for the first time on a League adventure. I was born and raised in the Midwest and have lived primarily in Iowa and recently Nebraska. I grew up in northern Iowa, far from mountains and oceans. But now I have a personal connection to your state, which offers both. My newly minted husband of 5 weeks has family in Lumberton and Wilmington. I have been lucky enough to drive the Blue Ridge Parkway, have watched the sun rise and set on Carolina Beach, and I'm looking forward to spending more time with you in this beautiful city. I'd like to take a moment this evening sharing with you some history of mine and of the League, some information, some thoughts, and a challenge. But let me start by sharing with you from whence I came. My father and my mother have always told me we must not forget from whence we came, as Jennifer so aptly put as she was speaking this evening. I am just a corn-fed kid from Iowa and proud of it. I was born to Willie Turner, who told me I could be anything I wanted to be, but added, I don't care if you want to be a ditch digger or a doctor, but whatever you choose to be the best you can be. And then there was Mabel Turner, my mother, who told me that no matter how hard the road is, you just keep on keeping on. A phrase I repeat to myself every day of my life, and many of you League members understand you repeat to yourself every day of your League life. My hometown is Mason City. It's actually the river city of the music man. At one time, it was one of the most diverse communities in Iowa. I was lucky to grow up during that time. I went to Greek school in 6th grade at the Greek church. I took TV Spanish daily with every 5th and 6th grader in our town, sitting on a gym floor in front of a black and white TV about yay big, and learning TV Spanish from Senor Siqueiros. And the reason was because our school board decided that there were enough Spanish-speaking people in our community that every student should have an opportunity to have some grasp of the Spanish language. That was in 1959. I grew up in a YWCA where we all mingled, sharing classes and activities across all social levels. One of the best things was that we had a great YWCA at that time. We had thriving Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, Greek, and non-denominational communities. There were 3 thriving black churches, a large Latinx population, all in a community of less than 28,000. May and my sisters and brothers were able to participate in all activities. My mother was a high school grad. She became president of the city of PTA. She sat on the zoning commission, and if you know, a small town zoning commission is everything. That's where the power is. She was president of the YWCA, and my dad, with at most a 6th grade education from being part of the Great Migration from the south to the north, starting in St. Joe, Louisiana, and finally getting to Mason City, Iowa, was respected and appreciated across all social levels in our community. I can't tell you how many times friends of mine and my brothers and sisters sought his counsel, as he was considered a very wise man who always said, "I never meet a stranger." I received a stellar public school education from teachers I admire and I appreciate to this day, because they believed in us, as we need to believe in our children. They didn't care if we were black, white, brown, or whatever. Now, I don't sugarcoat those days. When I was growing up, we had difficulties. There was stress, there was worry, and yes, there was bigotry. But it was all overshadowed by the positive times. But then I matriculated at Iowa State University, and for the first time I faced rather in-my-face discrimination. I chose to go through Rush because my brother had been a part of a fraternity at ISU. Now, at that time, remember this is 1969, there were no black sororities on campus. But it didn't bother me because I came from a community where, although there were struggles and differences and biases displayed at times, I was able to achieve almost anything and make friends. The night before we were to receive our offers to pledge, I was called to the office of the Vice President of Student Affairs and the President of the student body. And they told me I would likely not be getting a bid because they had gotten information from all the national sororities in the country that were on our campus that they were not going to allow their houses to pledge a black member. They gave me the opportunity to withdraw. I opted not to withdraw. Little did I know that the mother of one of my future pledge sisters had heard that our chapter was being warned not to pledge me and was getting resistance. She went to bat for me at the national level, and she went to bat for the girls in that house. At my wedding 6 weeks ago, 6 of my 1969 pledge sisters were there to celebrate with me 52 years later. I told you this story not to impress or to self-promote, but to tell you why I still have hope, even in the tumultuous times we live in today. Why I believe that there is power in people to do the right thing when their voices are heard, acknowledged, and heeded. That we as a league must understand and embrace that power. We can truly achieve our mission of empowering voters and defending democracy. Not a one of us has gotten to the positions that we're in this room today on our own. There are others who came before us that helped us get there. Our parents, parents of our friends, our families, our teachers, our classmates, our Girl Scout leaders, and even my band directors. All these people helped me get to where I am today. They helped pave the way for me. And that is why I do the work I do today in the league. I know we have our problems. I know we are not perfect. And I know the path ahead is very rocky. But I believe we will manage to stay the course and do the right thing together and in community with partners and allies. And I believe it because it's the power of the people that counts. We are the people, and we need to embrace our power. LWV ODC is a local chapter of the League of Women Voters of the United States with a big voice. We all know that the boots on the ground are from our local chapters. That is where the hardcore league work is done, and that is where we build connections with our communities. 2020 was a milestone year for LWV, but this year is a milestone year for LWV ODC. For 3/4 of a century, this grassroots, community-based group of volunteers has been powering democracy across these 3 historic counties. I am proud to honor this milestone today with League members and so many of your honored guests here who represent this great community. When we commemorate milestones, it is a great time for us to reflect on our mission and our impact. For the League of Women Voters, our mission is, as we've said many times, empowering voters and defending democracy. We work year-round to register new voters, host candidate forums, debates, educate people on topics critical to our democracy, and provide accurate and up-to-date voting information. We advocate for voters' rights and civil rights in the courts and in the halls of power, because democracy is not whole unless all people have an equal voice. And we are aggressively working to make sure we are doing this in a determined, intersectional way. We know, and we have acknowledged, that when the League began, we were not open. We were not necessarily inclusive. We were not intersectional. We've acknowledged that history, and we are continuing today to work to correct it. We have a lot to be proud of, however, and so much to learn from our history. Yet lately, what do? We find ourselves on defense once again. Our country was traumatized and tested last year. Now we see the threats of democracy all around us. Attacks on voting rights, challenges to securing and running elections, misinformation repeated, socialized, and taken as truth. One more important thing we must never forget is democracies are both strong and fragile, even here in America. They require ongoing commitment for survival. That is why we have to recommit ourselves right now, continually, to protecting our democracy and expanding it, to truly include everyone in our nation. That is the role of the League of Women Voters and community leaders like you. Yet powerful forces continue to work against us. As you know, dozens of new anti-voter laws have been passed across the country, and I know here in North Carolina, you are more aware of this than many are. Misinformation and disinformation, particularly the big lie, continue to erode public trust in our elections. These threats are alarming, and they reveal an important truth. Democracy is never, ever guaranteed. We must continue to fight for and defend our right to the government by the people, for the people, all the people. Yes, the forces working against us are powerful, but we must affirm that we hold great power as well. As we look forward to the midterm elections in just a few months, we will work together to make the promise of democracy real for every American. Our work is more important than ever, and we must stand in our power. The network of grassroots organizers is vast because it's rooted in our communities. Our passion runs deep, and our voices together form a resounding chorus. Attacks on our freedom to vote are meant to drown out the voices of those least represented in our democracy. When one person is disenfranchised, our entire democracy is weakened. The late, great Congressman John Lewis was fond of saying that democracy is not a state, it is an act, and that each generation must do its part. So as we commemorate today's milestone, let us use this opportunity to rededicate ourselves to the enterprise of American democracy. But we must do this together, all of us, from different backgrounds, different religions, races, ethnicities, abilities, languages, and political stripes. Our diversity is our strength, and it's why the League is nonpartisan, because the right to vote is not a partisan issue. It is the foundation of our democracy. Our democracy is not based on age. It's not based on race. It's not based on ability, gender, or zip code. It is for everyone, and that is why we must protect the right to vote at all costs. Voting is a fundamental principle, and all Americans deserve the equal opportunity to make their voices heard. We must continue to push our leaders in Congress to make voting rights a priority for the American people. That does mean passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. It will strengthen our elections by eliminating obstructive laws that keep voters of color from exercising their rights at the ballot box. We cannot back down until every voter can safely participate in free and fair elections. We will continue our fight until all voters, especially Black, brown, and indigenous communities, have their voices heard. The bottom line is this: our democracy depends on the participation of all people. And when our elections are fair and free, our democracy prevails. This spring, I had the honor to march between Selma and Montgomery in the 56th commemoration of the 1965 Freedom March and Bloody Sunday. I was overwhelmed with the feelings of unity, power, and determination among the most diverse group of persons one could imagine. There were students, parents, grandparents, labor leaders, theologians, housemakers, business persons, binary and non-binary people, old and young, Black, white, brown, and Alabama League members, all with the same purpose: preserving our right to vote and making sure every voice was heard. I had the pleasure that day of walking with an amazing young woman, Divine Hall McGuire. Her grandfather's house was the first campsite on the march in 1965. Because in 1965, there were no hotels or motels along the route for persons to stay. So they slept at the homes of different homeowners and in the fields and in the ditches around those homes. They stopped and they called these places campsites. And Divine's grandfather had the first campsite. And he told her about that day. He says, so as we were walking along, Divine said to me, "Look at the shoes." And so I looked down, and she told me her grandfather had told her how the marchers, so they marched until they marched through the soles of their shoes. And then they placed Cracker Jack boxes in their shoes, and they kept on walking. She said, "Look at our shoes today." The marchers in 1965 did not have these fancy sneakers. They didn't have hiking boots or sandals like we have today. So do we truly appreciate the sacrifices they made to secure the right to vote? And are we willing to sacrifice the same? Are we? I hope so. We've got to look around and ask, are all the people in our communities equally able to exercise their right to vote? And if not, what can we do as a league? But even more importantly, what can we do as individuals? As voting right advocates, it is critical that we speak with one voice, that we shout out to those who are working to restrict voting rights, specifically the rights to our Black, brown, and disenfranchised citizens. Not on our watch. If you come for one of us, you come for all of us. We will not go back. We will march through the soles of our shoes together. There will not be a us or them. We are in this together, and we will fight together. We fight for voting rights in different approaches, different languages, cultures, communities, and faiths. But the message is the same. All voices deserve to be heard. As a voter, you have the power to make your voice heard and choose the candidates that best serve your needs and support your community. So participation in this year's midterms is critical. It is your opportunity to have a say in America's future. Tell your friends, tell your family, and your associates to have a voting plan ready for Election Day. That means deciding how and when you will cast your ballot, arranging transportation, arranging child care, and if needed for you and for others, talking to your new voters, youth voters, about their role in democracy and the importance of civic engagement. Get them to use Vote 411 because they will find valuable information that they may not be able to get anywhere else. Get them to research their candidates. Know what your candidates stand for. Just don't assume how they stand on reproductive rights, gun rights, immigration, and other issues that are important to you and to the league. Know so that when you vote, you will vote in a good and strong way for what you want and what you think your community needs. Just remember, that old saying, all politics are local, is very true. Because when we vote, we're not just voting for federal candidates, we are voting for our communities to survive and our friends and colleagues in our communities survive. In America, voting rights exemplify freedom. Freedom to determine who we are, who we want to be, and who we want to make the decisions about our country and our bodies. And if you are a league member today and you are interested in being in the fight with us to empower voters and defend our democracy, I will unabashedly invite you to say, join the League of Women Voters of Orange, Durham, and Chatham. And this may not be obvious, but you know that we're not all women. We have members who are men, we have members of all gender select identities, we have different ages. We are a diverse organization, and that's what we need to make it work. So if you want to join a bunch of fearless, passionate volunteers who make it their life's work to defend democracy and empower voters, we would be thrilled to have you. And tell your friends to join too. So I want to close with a heartfelt congratulations to you, the dedicated volunteers of LWV ODC, for 75 years of empowering voters and defending democracy across Orange, Durham, and Chatham County. And I'd also put this challenge out. The challenge to the League today is to transform, to become a League of the future, but not forgetting from whence we came and standing on our values and principles from days past. It is a challenge for us to understand ourselves, understand our weaknesses, understand how we can be better, and to make ourselves better. And finally, a challenge to each of you as an individual to become the best citizen you can become, and to help our country be what it could be, it should be, and it will be. Congratulations.
Deborah, that was inspiring, and I'm ready to go. I hope you all are too. Please do join the League, and or at least come to our events, participate whatever way you can. We would love to have you. Thank you all for coming tonight. We really appreciate it, and hope to see you all soon. I forgot something I promised to do. You will see on your chairs, or if you're around, that there is some information about Vote 411. We have a QR code now, so if you just click on the QR code, you will go right to the demonstration on Vote 411. So just a plug for Vote 411.
Did I say something? I just wanted to add, yes, I hope you can hear me. I wanted to add that Vote411.org has a mobile application, and we had thought about having everybody scan the QR code right now, so that we can actually get, so that every person could demonstrate it, see it working on their